He is the president of the American Federation of Teachers West Virginia chapter. Good morning, Frederick. How are you?
Good morning. I am well, and good morning to you and to Bill and to John. And first, let me say I am no longer the president of AFT West Virginia, but I always enjoy joining you, and I join you today as President Emeritus of AFT West Virginia.
Congratulations. When was your date of retirement, Fred?
Well, from AFT, we had our convention in November the 16th. There was an election. I chose not to run this term. I just finished 6 years, and I decided it was time to let someone else have all the fun. So a new president, Christy Skidmore, very capable young lady from Randolph County, is the new AFT West Virginia president. And I feel very sure that she's going to do an excellent job. She's a 30-year classroom veteran teacher, well-spoken, well thought of. She's the local president of AFT Randolph and has done a great job in leadership there. So I've passed the torch on to someone who's very capable and is going to do a great job.
I remember when we last had you on the show, this convention was upcoming, and
right.
you had indicated that you would likely not run again.
And I didn't, and then I officially retired from Kanawha County Schools as a 30-year-plus veteran teacher on December the 3rd. My retirement was approved by the school board, and around 5 o'clock, and starting at 5:30, my phone has been ringing almost nonstop, wanting me to substitute. I've chosen to take a little time off to catch my breath, and then I probably will do some substituting, but not right at the moment.
Fred, what was it like to walk out that school on that final day, December 3rd, I think you said it was?
Yes, it was bittersweet. You know, I look back on my career, and I've met many, many, many wonderful people, especially many wonderful students. And I always say I'm not the baby in my family. I'm the crybaby in my family.
Mm-hmm.
But it had its, emotional moment. But others have walked this path as well, and they've all done well. So I'm looking forward to the next chapter.
Tell me about devoting your life to public education as a teacher and to the children of West Virginia. And how do you overall think your time was spent as a teacher in West Virginia?
Well, I would like to think that I made an impact, and I do see students occasionally in the grocery store and other places that will come up to me and tell me. Actually, on trick-or-treat night here in Kanawha County this year, I had several former students who are now parents themselves. They were out trick-or-treating in my neighborhood, and they came up, and surprisingly, they gave me a hug, and they were glad to see me, and they told me that I had a positive impact on their lives. So that's always the rewarding part of this profession. I taught middle school math, and I say that's everyone's favorite subject. Some people just haven't realized it yet. I really do think, I'm sure I had some bumps along the way, and I have some former students who probably didn't like me for whatever reason. That's just life. But I think overall, I would like to think that I have made a positive impact. I taught for a while in an elementary school. I taught for 20-some years in a middle school, and it was all good. I had great administrators, great colleagues, and I will always be an advocate for public education here in West Virginia.
Fred, how's the discussion with the merge of the two unions going?
It's going well. When I left there in November, and I will continue participating if they want me to in any way I can to help them. The merger is going well. They're on track. They're going to, and we talked about this at our convention, our delegates who were elected to be delegates at our constitutional convention in November, we did not adjourn sine die. We recessed our convention. And we will gather again with the same delegates. They know that they're serving as delegates in the next special convention, which is slated to be March the 28th at 10 o'clock here in Charleston. And that is where our delegates will either vote up or down the merger. And everything is on track at this point to continue, and by September of 2025, a new organization shall be birthed.
Are you having a third party do a lot of the mechanical work for you, putting together the framework, or is this done by a select group of your individual delegates?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question, because it's both. We're not reinventing the wheel. And I've mentioned this before, Education Minnesota is an example of a merged state. They merged 28 years ago. And so two gentlemen from Minnesota come here periodically and meet. They met with Dale Lee, myself, and a team, and they are facilitating. They have facilitated our meetings. Now, we've done a lot of the work on our own, but they've been down this road before. They were very successful with the Minnesota merger, and so they've given us ideas. They've given us guidance. So it's a real team effort.
So, congratulations, Fred. If you could, you're a soft-spoken, easygoing kind of guy. That's how you come off on the radio. But now you're free. You're no longer speaking on behalf of a larger association. You're speaking as a private citizen. So if you could metaphorically grab the teachers, administrators, politicians by the collar and yell at them, this is where you need, this is what you need to concentrate on, and you don't really get it, what would some of those things be?
I'm so glad you said that. I am soft-spoken and I am easygoing. I think I get that from my dad. My mother was the opposite. She was a little bit more high-strung, but they made a great couple. They were married for 68 years before they passed. And but I am soft-spoken to a point, but I can get kind of loud also. And I would go to the people that matter and say, number one, you've got great people in our classrooms teaching, and you've got great service personnel helping to run our schools. Let them do their jobs. Let them do what they have been trained to do, and stop trying to tell them what to do. And I would also say any decision that's going to be made that's going to impact our students and our teachers and our service personnel, let us be at the table, because we know how to do these jobs. Let us do our jobs. That's what I would say.
So you're suggesting that perhaps politicians who have never taught, don't necessarily know everything there is to know about teaching?
I would say that.
Okay.
I would say that very clearly.
Always let a writer do your translating for you, Fred. Boil those paragraphs down to a quick sentence.
That's the clip version. But,
Yep.
Now, how about on the flip side, in terms of administrators and teachers getting in their own way on dealing with the other side? Any advice for them?
Absolutely. I would say always be professional. Always consider the student, the children first, and how their lives are going to be impacted by what you say, what you do, how you act out in public and other places on social media. Always be cognizant that you are being held to a higher standard. And you've got to make sure, because people pay attention and our students pay attention. When they see you out in public, they watch every move that you make. That's the advice that I would give. Be professional and always keep your students in mind that everything that you do is going to impact them in some way.
Fred, following this soft-spoken, being a nice guy, but now the fact that you're unencumbered, you can speak. What about Hope scholarships, the alternative education, and the impact going to have on they are having on the public schools?
Oh my goodness. Well, I would yell really loud on that one because I have always said that our parents have had choices at forever. Parents have always had the opportunity to put their children in a private school, in a Christian school, or keep them at home and homeschool them. But let's do that. If you're making that choice, that's your choice. Our public schools need to be funded adequately, and public dollars should go to fund our public schools. The Hope Scholarship sounds wonderful, but it is having drastic consequences on our public schools. If you followed the news, and I know you gentlemen have, Superintendent Blatt at last month's board meeting said, we're on track to possibly close 26 schools in West Virginia this next year. And some of that is because of funding that's leaving our classrooms. So I'm not a advocate for the Hope Scholarship, and I would say that very loudly.
We had Seth DiStefano on from the West Virginia Center for Budget and Policy last week. He made a similar statement, Fred. And do we know how much of this is just natural consolidation from not having a growing population in most of the counties of the state, and how much this is directly associated with the Hope Scholarship?
Well, I'm sure that the Department of Education could, in West Virginia, could give us that figure, but I'm not sure that that's real clear right now. We're in December. The second month report just came out. So it takes a little while to sift through all of those numbers. I'm sure it probably could be determined. I personally don't know, but I do know that we do have a shrinking population. We have an aging population, and our towns are losing people. So, you can't continue doing business the way you've always done business. I get that. But I do know that we have a large number of students who are leaving our public schools for virtual schools or the homeschooling or private schools. So that does impact the population and the census.
Yeah, a variant to your question, Rob, is the acceleration it's having, not the fact of what the impact has had to cause them to close, but the acceleration. That's a broader range, I think, for those 26 schools.
Did you happen to catch 60 Minutes last night, Fred?
No, I was at church last night. We had our annual lessons and carols, and I sing in our church choir. So I was in church at that time, but I would like to have been able to watch that.
There was a feature on the Khan Academy and artificial intelligence and how public schools are adopting artificial intelligence as part of the way they do lessons. And they had asked Mr. Khan, in fact, was this an ultimate way of replacing teachers in the classroom? And he said, no, this is an actual help enhance teachers' performance in the classroom. We're not looking to replace any teachers with this. While you were teaching, did you see artificial intelligence begin to have an effect on the way lessons were being planned or taught in the classroom?
I did, not to the magnitude that it's happening right now, but I did, and I am familiar with the Khan Academy, and it was very instrumental in helping me find lessons for different math lessons that I taught. So the Khan Academy, I do applaud for their great work, and I do agree with Mr. Khan. It's not there to replace a live teacher in the classroom, but it is something that is available to enhance their work. I will also say that AFT nationally has had a program for years in Share My Lesson, and these are lessons that were created by actual classroom teachers, and we've put that online for anyone to use, and they're great lessons. That was not artificial intelligence, but we use that as well. But artificial intelligence is here to stay. It's not going to go away, but I do think that we need some guardrails put on it so that we are getting accurate information, not disinformation. So it can be used as a tool, just like technology. I remember when Texas Instruments came out with calculators for math classes, and they're great. but you have to know how to operate them. They're not going to replace actual pen and paper or pencil and paper for math, but you use it as a tool. So you have to know how to use it as a proper tool. And the same thing with artificial intelligence.
Which brings me to I remember very clearly, my first interaction with artificial intelligence was probably in 4th or 5th grade in math class, true story, when I realized that the math book that my teacher was using looked exactly like the math book that I was using, but hers had the answers in it in red or orange writing. I thought, well, no matter. No wonder she knows all of the answers. They're right there. I was incensed.
Well, but you know what? I have even found, and other teachers have as well, they can testify to this. We have found mistakes, even in the teacher's edition sometimes. And if you found a mistake, and I don't know that this still exists, but I remember at one time, if you found a mistake and you reported it to the publisher, you were rewarded with something, a small token of appreciation for finding a mistake. So the point is, all of that information is terrific to have at your fingertip, but you've got to be smart enough to decide, is this correct? And you've got to know how to do the math. We had a demonstration at one of the AFT national meetings, and I will continue to serve as an AFT national vice president.
About 30 seconds left, Fred.
Okay, but we had a demonstration on ChatGPT, and it's amazing. But again, you have to be able to discern, is this correct information that you're getting?
Indeed. Fred, I want to thank you for your participation on this show and always being available and coming on to answer questions, no matter how difficult they might be at times. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, and I want to wish the three of you a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and the best in the new year.
Merry Christmas to you, Fred. Okay.
Thank you.
May you enjoy your emeritus status, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Fred.
Goodbye.